Hi.
So I figured, we would roll through the front of the house real quick, just a brief overview of how everything looks, and then we can get into the back office where I can show you the reporting and all that stuff. Does that sound good?
Yep. Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so I am going to share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
And my mouse and everything like that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is going to be your main login screen. This is like where the resting page is for all of Linga and everything like that. You've got your area to put in your PIN to log in. Just starting from the top left, this A118, this is going to be your node number. So this is going to denote which different node you're on. So A000, A001, so on and so forth. To the right of this little circle made by two arrows, this is going to be like the button you're going to use the most. This is your sync with the back office button. So whenever you guys make changes to the back office, change menu prices, so on and so forth, when you publish them in the back office, then you're going to go in and you're going to tap that button. It's going to sync with the back office and it'll give you that your iPad is up to date message. So any changes you made in the back office that you pushed, once you sync, they are going to present on the POS itself. To the right of that, this is going to be your sync checks button. It pretty much just syncs checks with every other node in the actual network. So for example, if you're doing a change or working on something at one terminal and then you go to another terminal, it's just always prudent to actually sync your checks as well. It does it automatically, but it's usually every 5 minutes. So you might miss out on some information or something like that. So I always just recommend doing that. To the right of this just lists all of your different nodes and connected devices. So you'll have a list of all of them. So if you don't see one on there, then you would be like, hey, there might be a connection issue with this, right? And then to the far right, this is going to be to actually sign out of the entire app altogether. So then you would have to re-sign in. So you're not really going to be using that often, okay? Starting from the top right here, so these are just some quick links. So this quick link right here, this is actually a shortcut to the back office. So you can access the back office, like the back office directly from the POS. The only issue is that it's kind of hard to type and all that stuff. So I always recommend using a laptop or a computer in the office or something like that for any back office related stuff. Down here, this is a shortcut to operation. So this is a list of all of your other, necessary stuff like till management, batch tip adjustment, refunds, 86 list, your hardware and POS settings, and then your close of day. So this is mainly for like admins and managers. They're going to have access to these like quick links to like jump throughout the POS itself. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, cool. Down below that, we have active employees. So active employees, this is just going to list all of your current employees that you have. You can have them like all the ones that are on shift, not on the shift and all that stuff, just sort of to keep tabs and all that stuff on all of your different employees. And then down below that, this time clock, this is what they're going to use to clock in and out. So they'll just hit time clock, type in their number, hit continue, and it's going to bring up with their time clock. So my server is already clocked in, but it would like have this button instead of clock out, it would say clock in, and then it would clock in, and then it would say you are successfully clocked in, and then they can access their tables and all that stuff. Down below this, just an FYI, always double check these two dates. If the business date and the date up here do not match, that means there might have been an issue with the day closing or the batch settling. So then I would always just go through and double check. If those don't match, go and check the batch. And then to the right here, just a few quick shortcuts. You guys aren't going to be using delivery or phone orders or anything like that. This is just a quick shortcut to the bar tab, but what I'm going to do is when I get those employees added in, I'm going to have it so that if they're a bartender, it's going to jump them immediately to the bar screen, server, so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So now I'm just going to log in as my server and it's going to jump right to our table layout. So this is going to be, as soon as they log in, it'll have your table layout. Obviously, this is just my like test store, but this is going to be all of the tables they have available. You notice right down below, you have new check, transfer, merge, split, pay, print, and this operation shortcut again. So if they wanted to start a new check, they could simply just tap on it, tap on the table, select how many people there are. Let's just say 2, and then it takes you to your order screen. Okay. So from here, you'll see this has the table number. If you wanted to change the name of it from walk-in, you could just tap it, and then you can add a customer name, and you'll see that it changes. This is where you would add like a loyalty rewards or like a house account or something to that extent. You would click on that, and then you can add new, or you can, search, and it should bring them up, and then it will change the name of that to the actual house accounts themselves.
Boy, I better
You can
get
remove
started.
it like that. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if you want people to have like running tabs or anything like that, but the option is there. So right here, you'll see how this T9 is in blue. I mean, if I wanted to order something specifically for a separate seat, I could click on that, and now I'm only going to be ordering for table 1 or for seat 1, right? So I can scroll through right up top here. These are going to be all of your categories. And then when you click on a category, it'll drop down to a subcategory if you have a subcategory associated or something to that extent. Then once you click on that, it'll drop it down to the actual menu items. But so the way we have it set up is you're going to have, the category of beer, right? And then you're going to have the category beer, and then you would select what type of beer. And then once you selected that beer, then you would choose like a serving size. So let me show you an example. So then you'll have your serving sizes. So you would have, your bottle, can, draft, so on and so forth, 12 pack or something to that extent. You'll notice that when I click on it, the price itself changes. So it kind of saves you some time and everything like that on there. For liquor, we have, these modifier groups right down here. So you've got as many modifier groups as you want to add, so on and so forth. I've got the mixers added for you guys and all that. But then, you would scroll through, you could select whatever, add whatever you need, and then, do an upcharge or like if you wanted to or something to that extent. And then when you're ready to order it, you just hit done. And then now you'll see it right here. These are all the modifiers, and this is the actual menu item itself. Do you have any questions so far? Okay.
Yep.
So once you're ready to order an item or something to that extent, down below here, you just have that order button. Once you hit order, it's going to print. It's going to have that green check mark, and it's going to send it to the printer or to the kitchen or what have you. From there, then you can go and, add some stuff in, if you wanted to order, let's say, a dish for the second seat, so on and so forth, hit order. Now, if you wanted to see all of these seats in one check, just go ahead and tap that table button right here. So I click on that, and that shows me all of the items associated with the entire check.
Let me know what's up.
Did that make sense?
You want to go for a ride or something? Yeah, sure will.
Okay.
Take care.
So once you're done with this, you can hit finish, and you'll notice, I mean, we can set it so that it doesn't log them out every time you actually hit finish. But you'll notice that now this shows up as like a turquoise color, and that denotes that there's a tab or a check on that table. If I wanted to add a new check to that table, I can just hit that new check button down below here, click on the same table, select how many people you got, hit continue. And now if I order something, you'll notice that now this is that burgundy color. This denotes that there are actually multiple checks on that individual table. If I clicked on it, it would show me all of those checks that I have currently. Now, let's say I wanted to merge these two, right, for any reason. I can go and I can select merge down at the bottom here, select merge, select the table you want, select the checks you want, hit done, and then now they are successfully combined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And split.
Similarly, split is the exact same way. So let's say, you know, wanted to go, I would just hit split. You can either split by separate checks or you can split by adding seats. Split by checks is always easier in my opinion. So just hit split by check, select the table, and then now it's going to bring you to the split check screen. If I just hit add, you'll see that it adds another check to it. I can just select whatever I need, pop it over, boom, good to go. Now, if at any point in time I made a mistake or something like that, or I wanted to start over or anything like that, you would just hit that start over, brings it right back to it. Now, if you add multiple checks, right, you also have the option to right down at the bottom right here, hit print all, and that's going to print them all at the same time. So you can give it to your, you know, oh my gosh, excuse me, your table.
There, but it'd be
Um,
$29.
And then when you're done, you would just hit save and close. And then now you'll see we've got those 3 separate checks.
Perfect.
Cool. Now, with the bar tab, it's a little easier. So this is actually going to be the bar tab itself. Okay. So when you're a bartender and you log in, it's going to jump you to this screen right here. You can hit new tab. You know, let's say you can pre-auth if you want. We can turn it off or on. And then, you know, let's say I want to have, you know, test 1. Budweiser, order, finish. Now, when I go to the bar tab, you'll see this is that tab that like we just had, right? So I can hit a new tab, exit pre-auth, you know, test 2, here, boom, finish. And now I've got 2 of those tabs. Now the same exact concept applies when you want to merge these 2, right? Just hit merge, select the 2 you want, hit done, and boom, they're added. Similarly, if you wanted to transfer, let's say you have like a bar AM and a bar PM, and you wanted to transfer one as you're doing the like, you know, cashier out report for bar A, you can just hit transfer. You'll select the actual person you want to transfer from. So my server, you're going to select the actual check you want to transfer, and then you'll select the person you want to transfer to. Once you're done with that, then you can, you know, hit done, and it's going to change the name of that server. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So then, you know, combined with that, now let's say I wanted to take a payment, right? So I'll print it out and everything like that, and I want to take a payment. So down at the bottom here, you would just hit payment, and then this brings up your payment screen. So let's say, just an FYI, like if I were to just hit cash right now, like this button, it's thinking, hey, you gave me exactly $19.55, right? But if let's say they like gave you a $50 bill, you would just type 50 into the actual payment and then hit cash, and then it's going to show you that like change due. If at any point they, let's say, hey, I actually wanted to pay with a card or something like that, and I wanted to delete a payment, you would just go back to this payment screen, highlight that payment, hit delete, and then it should be deleted. And then from there, you can then hit, you know, MPPG for paying, and then, you know, you can add a manual card number or hit process EMV. And when you process EMV, then you would present the card, and then it should print the receipt and all that. So I'm just gonna do a few of these real quick. I'm gonna close it out. Side CC is like a fake credit card, so I can close it out without actually charging anyone anything. So I'm just gonna ring a few of these out, and then we'll show you how to do some tips and all that stuff. How's everyone feeling so far?
Good.
Good. And like I said to you, Sheila, like, I mean, I could sit here and I could show you how this works and everything like that. But like, once you guys actually start to do it and like get the hang of it, that's when you really start to learn per se. So while I'm here, let's say if I've got this item right here and I wanted to attach like a special note to it, right? I can select the individual item and I can just hit attach. Well, I have to. So if I wanted to attach a special note to the kitchen or something like that, right? I would select that item before I send it to the kitchen and then hit attach. Now you can create special reasons or anything like that if you want like a quick reference, but then you can actually tap on the actual screen and then be like, hey, I want this, you know, extra crispy or something like that. Hit add, and now you'll see that it shows up as one of the modifiers. So it'll print to the kitchen well that way as well. So show it up. Okay. So now I've got all of my checks pretty much closed out and everything like that. So now let's go through how you would go through a cashier out report for a server or a bartender. So whenever they're ready to go, they're going to start putting their tips in, right? So they're going to navigate over to operation, and then they're going to go to batch/tip adjustment, and you'll see the device was side CC. If I, let's say, had, you know, like a MPPG credit card or something like that, or a gift card, and you want to allow them to actually tip on gift cards, you can switch devices from here. And then, so we're in the right one. So let's say, you know, I did an excellent job. I got a $20 tip, so on and so forth. If I wanted to adjust the tip, I would just tap right where that 0 is. And then I can tap whatever the tip was. And then you'll notice that it turns from white to this lovely puke green color. That denotes that the tip has been adjusted. So even if they don't add a tip per se, and you want it to change to that color just to be uniform, you can just tap it, hit zeros, and then boom, it changes as well. Now, let's say we were doing some transactions and for some reason you guys lost the internet for a period of time, right? You can still take transactions offline, but instead of being highlighted white or this color, they're going to be highlighted in red. And that denotes, hey, this has been a transaction that was taken, but it's been offline. So once we have that happen, we can then press this process offline, and it's going to process all of those offline transactions to make sure that they actually go through again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to add a couple more tips.
Mhm.
So you'll notice right down here for this server, Wednesday Addams, she's got a total amount of sales of $213.38, and she's got $55.50 in tips. So that's how you can keep track of that. Now, whenever they're ready to do their actual checkout, we're going to hit this little sandwich icon with the 3 lines, and then we're going to go to till management, and we're going to navigate all the way to the far right under reports. So this is going to be your actual cashier out report. So you've got your total check counts, you've got your guest counts, average per check, average per guest, gross sales, so on and so forth. They really only care about your tips and your cash expected. So whenever you're looking at a cash expected, right, you see that this is a cash expected of $33.91. If it's positive, that means that the server owes you money. If it's negative, that means that you owe the server money. Does that make sense? Because what it's doing is it's taking all of your cash payments, your cash payments, right?
Okay.
And it's going to subtract those tips out of there. Now you can set it so that I mean, do you have your servers and everything like that? They walk with their tips every night, right?
Yeah, their cash tips, they put in a bucket. The credit cards, they just take them out After you
Yeah.
enter their,
Well, I'm saying, like, on their credit card tips, they actually leave every night with their credit card tips, right? They're not added
Correct.
onto their check.
correct. They,
Okay.
they leave with them.
Yep. So then it's gonna just take your cash payments and subtract the tip out, and that's where it's gonna be that positive or that negative number. Similarly, you can set it so that, you know, if you have certain percentages of tip outs, like let's say, hey, I've got, you know, 2% of net sales goes to from the server to the bartender, or of liquor sales, right? Then you would have that in the back office set up, and then it's going to automatically connect or like add that in there so that you can be like, all right, they have a cash expected at 33.91. All right, so then your tips were X. So then we're gonna, you know, you owe the bartender $1.18 or something like that, and then you owe the porter $5 or what have you. Once you're done with this, you can press this button right here to actually print it. And then once you print it, then you would present it to them, make sure everything's good to go, take their receipts, staple it together, and then they've been checked out. Any questions on this?
No.
Okay. So now let's say that all of everyone's checks are done and you're ready to actually close the day, right? So I'm going to log in as my manager. I'm going to log in, and then I'm going to go to operation, which is that main hub. I'm going to go to batch/tip adjustment. I'm going to double check and make sure that everyone's tips are in, because once those tips are batched, then we can no longer change those. You would have to actually contact your payment processor, and your payment processor would then have to go back and adjust it on their end. So it takes a couple, like a day or two, I believe, or something to that extent. So it's just easy peasy, just to make sure, you know, at the end of the night, just scroll through. Okay, perfect. I've got all my stuff there. You know, everything's been adjusted, so I'm ready to roll. So from here, you would then hit submit batch on the bottom right. So once you hit submit batch, it's going to, obviously these are fake, so it's not going to actually submit the batch, but it's going to say batch initiated successfully, you know, can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Realistically, if you have like 60 checks for the entire day, it's going to take like a minute and a half tops. But usually, you know, you just hit submit batch, go and walk around, do something for a minute or two, or, you know, and then come back. And then when you're back, you're going to see, it's going to say like no payments, right? So once you go from seeing all of those to no payments, that means that the batch has been successfully oh my gosh, submitted. My apologies. So from there, once we've submitted the batch, we're gonna go back over and we're gonna go to close day. Now, this looks very similar to the cashier out reports for all of the cashiers. The only difference is that this is for the entire store, all employees, the entire day. So at the end of the day, whenever you're doing your cash expected for the end of the day, if it's positive and negative, that means you had to take money out of the safe to pay your servers and bartenders, so on and so forth. But this is going to be your drop, okay? So like money in the bank, money to be deposited to the bank. So if it's negative, usually people have, you know, a safe with cash. So then you would just be like, hey, oh, the safe, you know, $164 or something like that, so on and so forth. Once this all double checks and looks good, you can go and hit close all cashiers. Oh, so it's saying she did not declare any cash tips. So this is when, if you prompt them to, when they clock out, declare cash tips, when they go to do their cashier out, it's going to say, hey, how many cash tips you got? We can't claim them for them legally, so it's up to them to, you know, type whatever they claimed in tips. But once they're done, you will see a little sign that says, you know, cashiers closed out successfully, right? So then from that on, you're then ready to actually close the day. So you can hit close day. It's going to ask you, do you want to close the day? And now you have this close of day checklist. So realistically, you guys are not going to be using tills. Tills are basically, you know, you start with 200 bucks in the drawer. At the end of the night, you should have 200 bucks in the drawer, right? So, you know, this is turned off for you guys, so you're not gonna have to worry about it. But let's say if you had an active check still, or if you had some offline transactions, any of these, like any of these four, if they're red, it's not gonna let you actually close the day. So then you would have to go back and be like, oh, okay, I've got, you know, 0, or I've got like 12 unbatched transactions, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Oh, all right, well, I'm gonna have to go back and double check the batch. Oh, I've got active checks. I'm gonna go see what's going on with that. Maybe it's just a void or something to that extent, so on and so forth. But if you've done everything good and everything's good to go, you hit that green submit button, and then congratulations, you have survived your first night at Linga.
Nice.
Do you have any like specific questions pertaining to any of this stuff? Any like specific things that like you guys do there that you kind of want me to run through?
I have a question about sales tax.
Yeah.
So there's no sales tax on alcohol?
Copy.
Wait, what state are you in? Maybe that's
Oh,
why.
I'm in Florida, so I have Florida's a 6% flat rate and then a 1% Collier County state tax. But
Okay.
yeah,
Is
but
there-
before we, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is there a way to put the liquor on there and then when you add the pop, like, because there's supposed to be sales tax on the mixer, it's really dumb. Is there a way when you
Yeah.
add, it will add like, okay, the pop is $1.
Yeah,
that's-
yeah. So
Bob?
you can actually assign taxes to specific modifiers. So you would just create a modifier like I have for the mixers, or like a canned pop or something like that, right? You would have that, but you can assign a tax to that. But then the actual liquor itself is not taxed. So I'll have like a 0 tax one that I'll add to the liquors, and then I'll add the whatever percentage it is for the mixers and all that stuff. So
I don't think that's how we do it now, but I just got done with the sales tax audit. And they did.
What- how do you guys know? How do you guys normally do it?
Right now, we don't have a tax on it, but she was saying that she just got informed that that's the way we are supposed to be doing it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, when we do the equipment install and we go through the final, you know, Q&A and all that stuff, we can double check and make sure everything's looking good and all that jazz. But you can add taxes specifically to modifiers, taxes for, you know, so on and so forth. So we'll get you up to code.
Okay.
Any other questions about this aspect?
I don't think so.
Um,
Have any-
One thing I will say is, if you guys like do refunds, right? If you have somebody come in the same day that like you actually, you know, serve them, you wouldn't technically do a refund, because what you're doing is you're authorizing that card transaction. So instead of doing a refund on the same day, what you would do is, if you like log in, and I click up on the top here, just go to all, and you'll see check stats, right? So check stats are going to show all of your checks.
Yeah.
You know, you got your active, your closed. So let's say somebody came in and they were like, hey, I didn't like this, or hey, I want a refund, or so on and so forth, right? You can navigate over to your closed checks. You would select that check, right? Hit reopen, and then go to payment. And then instead of actually doing a refund, you would just highlight it and delete it.
Oh, jeez. That seems, manager would have to do that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. No, managers 9 times
They
out of
not
10,
ever
you can,
That access, right?
no,
Right,
yeah.
If they run the
So-
wrong, on the wrong tab, you gotta be able to take the payment back off and run the right card. Same
Exactly.
way. Go in there, highlight it and hit delete.
Yep, same exact concept. The only thing is that technically now you don't have to do a refund that is going to be in 1 to 3 business days or something to that extent. You would just not authorize it anymore. So it might show a pending transaction for the next, you know, day, but then tomorrow it's going to go away, right?
Yeah.
But if you did need to do a refund or anything like that, you would just go back to your operation, and then there's a whole refund page here. So with this refund page, right, you can either do 3 different types of refunds. You can do just an open refund, you can refund a individual menu item, or you can refund stuff without a receipt. So to start, you would just, select the date that they came in or something to that extent. Hopefully, oh, no. Well, you get the drift. Find the date with the check and all that stuff, and then you can select that check and then actually, refund the whole check, refund individual menu items. If you wanted to do the refund without receipt, you would just select what type of refund you want. So do you want to give them a refund in cash? Do you want to put it back on their card? If you want to put it back on their card, you would just select the card, put the amount, and then you have to provide a reason. So, didn't like, so on and so forth. And PPG, and then basically it's going to look like a regular transaction, but it's for a negative number. So those take 1 to 2 business days.
Okay.
Cool. All righty. Any other questions about this? Obviously, we're going to cover it again when we do the whole staff training for the front of house. But at least this way, you guys have a firm foundation in that, so that you can actually lead along with them and then get them a little bit more confident and all that stuff. Cool. So now let's move over to the back office.
Not me. I'm ready to work now.
Hey, Donna. Donna, you have to fill that out, sign it or whatever there.
Okay, is this the?
Okay, so this is the new back office UI. So I'm going to train you on the newest one. You're still going to have the ability to swap back and forth up until they actually stop supporting the old back office. But we'll just go ahead and hit, let me see. You can see I've got a lot of these.
Jeez, yeah, holy cow. That's a security issue.
Well, they're all like support stuff
Yeah.
for, hold on. I actually need to change my password for some reason. So just bear with me a brief moment.
You got water running out the gutter up there.
Holy crap. I am not easy to use.
Is it raining that hard? Hello?
It is about to start raining super, like on the daily here now, because it's going to be summer here.
Is it still like 100 degrees down there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys are having a heat wave.
Florida has 2 temperatures. There's hot and there's less hot. It's crazy.
My dad sent me a picture of this little thing he has in his window. In the house, it was reading like 89, and the outside was reading 102. He doesn't have air conditioning.
And like in Florida too, it's not so much the humidity or the actual temperature, it's the humidity. It's just like this wet blanket you can't escape no matter how much you try. Like it's insane. All righty, so let's see.
Versus tearing down the barn, getting the trusses down. Here, at the other farm over on. I don't remember what that road is called.
Why they tear the barn down?
Because it's not usable and it's on the tax roll, so. it's not
Okay.
big things.
So this is the back office. So once it loads in, this is kind of your direct overview, right? So you've got your home page, you've got time period this week, and then this lists all of your sales, discounts, any sort of department sales. If I were to select it for today, hit apply, you'd see that it updated to the actual sales real time for what I did. Discounts, cash rewards, so on and so forth. If I scroll over to sales, I actually get breakdown of sales, average per check, average cover, net sales per hour. So then you can see, oh, okay, so we opened at, 11 and then we got slammed at, 2 p.m., right? So, hey, if we're getting slammed every day at 2 p.m., maybe we might want to think about adding another server, or hey, we're actually super dead at this point in time. Having 3 bartenders is a bit redundant or something like that. So this just kind of helps you gauge, how busy you are, what your average check is, and then actual average sales by tender. So it's like, hey, I'm getting a lot of cash sales or, side CC sales and all that stuff, right? Down below here, this is your products and items. So this is where you're going to do the majority of all of your editing or everything like that, right? So like we were talking about taxes, right? So if I go to taxes, I have all of these different taxes I can add. If I wanted to hit a new tax, anything with a red asterisk is just mandatory. So I obviously have to give the tax a name. And then you want to give it a percentage. So let's see, 7 just for, and then this is where you can have it sit to apply to certain things. So apply to an actual individual item, or is this going to apply to the entire check itself? You can change it to inclusive or exclusive, being that, if you have a beer that's $5 and you want the tax to be included in that beer, it's going to calculate that 7%, and that's going to charge it so that the beer still remains a total of $5. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you can change it to be if it's like quantity based or, default taxes or anything like that. And then once you're done and adding all of this information, you would just hit save, and then boom, you add it right here. So I'm going to go down just this entire list. We're obviously not going to be using all of this stuff, but the highest level of reporting for you would be your departments. So the way I have it set up right now is I have each, department split up. I've got food, beverage, liquor, beer, wine, and retail. So when you go to run your reports, you can actually get a higher view report of just departments. So you can see, hey, I've sold X amount of liquor. I've sold X amount in non-alcoholic beverages. I've sold X amount of food, so on and so forth. Down below that, we're going to have these serving sizes. So this is where we would add those serving sizes like I would have for a glass of wine or a bottle of wine or a can of beer, a bottle of beer, so on and so forth, right? Same exact concept with adding taxes. If I wanted to add a new serving size, I just click a new serving size, give it a name, and then hit save. And then boom, adds it right into it. So now I've got all these different serving sizes we can add. Down below that, this is where we're going to get into our categories. So this is where the categories, you can add a new category, you can edit a category. If I to go edit, you can select, hey, is this what tax does this inherit? Hey, liquors is like an X amount of tax. You can assign a tax to an individual item or an individual, modifier, but you can also add it to the actual category. And then when you create new items in that category, it will inherit those taxes and let's say those printers or something to that extent, right? So you can select certain roles. Hey, I only want, the admins, the managers, and the servers to see this one category, but I don't want bartenders to see it. All right, so you would just select, hey, I want admin, manager, server. Good. They're going to be the only ones that are able to see it. Scrolling down here, you can change availability. So like, let's say you wanted to create like a happy hour menu, right? You can have a happy hour menu in a category that would only be available, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. or something like that, right? this is where you would go and adjust this. So on those days, it's going to be visible only from those hours, but after that, then it's no longer going to be visible. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And availability days, so on and so forth. You can, like assign it to certain printers. So, you would assign it to a kitchen printer for your, or like a pizza printer or something like that for the pizza category. Or, obviously the liquor's got to get sent to the bar, so on and so forth. So once we set up the hardware and we add these printers in, then I can go in and I can actually assign them to certain categories, like you can also assign, modifiers specific kitchen printers. So let's say you wanted to have a Caesar salad with salmon, right? You would assign the salmon to go to the hot side, whereas the Caesar would go to the cold printer, right? So then it would send it, and then they would get, salmon at the hot side. All right, I'm going to make this salmon, but they're just getting Caesar, right? So you would sign it from there. You can do certain restrictions and everything like that. A lot of the times just playing around with this and just kind of seeing, what kind of works best for you guys. That's how it's going to go basically. So like, I mean, if you see, hey, I would rather do a happy hour discount as opposed to an actual category or so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
So down after categories, we have the subcategory group. So subcategories are just what they sound like, subcategories. So if I have the category liquor, then I would have, gin, vodka, rum, whiskey, scotch, so on and so forth. Those would be subcategories. Then I would place my items into those individual subcategories. So you've got, your Crown, your JMO, Grandma, all that stuff. Any questions on this?
I don't think so.
Cool.
This is
So
what see when they're ordering, right? So they'd go to the category beer and all.
This is how I program and who does stuff.
Okay.
yeah, so this is the exact same thing as, if I go to the category beer/liquor, right? Then I have my subcategories of, let's say, gin. I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen right now. Click on gin, and then part of those subcategory, that's where that aviation, Tanqueray, all that stuff, that's going to be nestled into those actual subcategories themselves.
Well, that's
Um,
do a happy hour to only show during happy hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, usually what I recommend for like happy hour stuff is you can actually create discounts that are only applicable to specific items for certain types of day. And then you can set it as an auto discount. So you don't even have to worry about it. As long as it's, from 2 to 6 or something like that on Monday through Friday or something like that, it would automatically assign, let's say like, $1 off 12-ounce beers or something like that, right?
We do fish. Right.
Sheila and I have already started talking about these modifiers, but I'll just go through it as well. So it's like kind of a nested hierarchy. You've got individual modifiers, right? So you've got, anchovies, sausage, bacon, ranch, and those are all individual modifiers. If I wanted to create a new modifier, same exact concept, anything with a red asterisk, maximum number of times. I usually set it as a default of 15. This is like the maximum amount of times you can add that modifier to an item. So let's say you're building a pizza, right? And you want to add some toppings. Obviously, if they want to pay for it, then by all means add 15, loads of sausage on it or something like that. But if you want it to be like, hey, only 3 or something to that extent, right? This is where you would inherit that. This is where we're talking about those taxes too. So now we can, let's say the modifier was can of pop or something like that, right? Now we would do that. Hey, now this is actually taxed, but the actual liquor itself is not taxed. So this is the modifier you would add that would have these taxes added to it. Does that make sense? Same thing with these individual kitchen printers, kind of like adding the salmon and everything like that. And then you can add like certain prefixes too. So like, light. Or I wanted to do like extra. And then let's say I wanted it extra to be a price of, 50 cents. so on and so forth, right? So this is all, you know, you can add certain serving sizes for these prefixes, so on and so forth. This is like down to the nitty gritty of this stuff. But like I said, with nested hierarchy, you've got these individual modifiers that you then take and combine them into modifier groups. So for example, I have a bottle service modifier group or
That's the part where you add your
burger toppings modifier group, right? So I would create this modifier group, call it burger toppings, and combine it and comprise it of certain burger toppings, lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle, so on and so forth, right? From there, you would then assign these modifier groups to the actual individual item itself. So I always like to use, for example, I have a burger that I created that really encapsulates Old Smoky Burger. So if I go and edit it, right? So we've got all these names, we've got everything filled out and everything like that. It's a subcategory, entrees and sides, subcategory is burgers, right? Now you look right up top here, you've got these three modifiers. So there's included modifiers, there's mandatory modifiers, and there's optional modifiers. If I go and I pull up the actual burger itself, it gives you a really good layout of that. So anything in that box that is like a bright blue, these are included modifiers. So the Old Smoky Burger naturally comes with Applewood smoked bacon, blue cheese crumbles, caramelized onion, spicy pickles, right? If let's say they didn't want spicy pickles, they would just deselect it, and then it automatically changes to no spicy pickles. Now, we can also set it in the modifier group that if it's being sent to the kitchen, obviously the kitchen knows what goes on an Old Smoky Burger, so it doesn't need to print to the kitchen and waste paper. So you can set it so that it would only send, you know, the Old Smoky Burger, and then if there was like no spicy pickles, right, it would only print no spicy pickles, right? Cool. You can also see like the the prefixes popping up. So if I wanted those spicy pickles on the side, you know, just click on the side and it would add them. Well, you usually add it to like an actual optional modifier group. So, but if I were to say like onion on the side, it would then say on side onion. So anything in this bright blue is the included modifiers. Anything in this red, these are mandatory modifiers. So you'll see minimum one, maximum one. So you have to choose one and only one. You can't have a burger that's both rare and well done at the same time, right? So you would select one of these and you'll see if I don't select any of them, right? And I hit done, oh, I need to pick at least one modifier from that group. So I'll say I like it medium rare. And then down here, these black ones, these are all of our optional modifier groups. So if I say, hey, all right, I want to add onion to that and I want to have no tomato. Now, it might look like there's a lot going on here, but remember, these are not going to be printed to the kitchen. So the kitchen will only see Old Smoky Burger, medium rare, onion, no tomato.
Got it.
Now, if I wanted to do like, let's say a side Caesar, you'll notice that when I click that side Caesar, this little modify with popped up, right? So this is what we're going to do like for, you know, like if you have a side Caesar as an option for like as a side, obviously you need to choose a dressing. So you can create a modifier group. In this case, I created a modifier group that was just dressings. And then I created this individual modifier side Caesar, and you can attach a modifier group to a modifier. So now I select side Caesar, I hit modify with, and now I get to choose what dressing I want. So then I'll choose blue cheese, and let's say I want it on the side. Boom, hit OK. Side Caesar, on side blue cheese. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. So that's kind of, I'm trying to bring it back and forth here, you know, just to show this is what it looks like on this side. So I've got my mandatory modifier group. You know, you can set that tiered pricing as we saw before, right? You know, with the sauces or the dips, where you have your first one be $0 and then your next 5 be 50 cents or so on and so forth, right? Same thing with optional modifier groups. And I think we already discussed the display order. So the way display order works is we've got obviously display order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So it's just however you want it to reorganize it. So usually I put smaller modifier groups up top just because they have a tendency to get lost down below. If you've got like pizza toppings and then you wanted to also add like, you know, extra crispy, don't cut, make it to go or something like that, right? Any questions on this?
No.
I know it's a lot of stuff I'm just kind of throwing at you here, but you can add additional modifier groups and all that stuff. To what?
She was asking if you were gonna set it up initially for us.
Yep. So that's what I'm doing. You know, that's what I've been doing and all that stuff. And then obviously, once you and your staff start to use it more, obviously there's going to be ways you want to change it or ways you want to streamline it. So that's what those 30-day follow-up is for. Is basically I'm here to fine tune it with you and all that stuff. So you'll see like you can have as many optional modifier groups as you want. You can just navigate, click on it over, sides, side salad was an additional, you know, hey, a modifier group if you wanted to add that. If I wanted to add another optional modifier group, just hit that plus add optional modifier group right there, add it in, do whatever you need to do, so on and so forth. Discounts. So discounts are kind of what we said, like happy hour on pizza, right? That's a pretty good example. So happy hour pizza, the priority, it doesn't really matter, just set it to 1. The quantity does matter. So let's say if I wanted to have like a $2 off of 5 beers, right? Or something like that, you would set that quantity to 5, meaning that they have to actually buy 5 beers in order for that discount to then take effect or for it to qualify for that discount. Does that make sense, right?
Yes.
So apply before tax, that's usually base and all that stuff. And then this is, you know, if you want it to combine with other discounts. So let's say you're already given a pretty good deal and you don't want them to be able to combine those two. So all of a sudden that like 25% off pizza gets to be 40% off or so on and so forth. You would just toggle that as no. Discount type. This is where you would select category, subcategory, or like individual menu items. So this happy hour pizza, right? It's on the category of pizza. But let's say I wanted to make it only a large pizza, or hey, only a can of beer, right? You would then set all serving sizes in category, turn that to no, and then you can select, hey, I only want it to be for the 10-inch pizza. Or in this case, hey, I only want it to be for bottled beers, non-draft, you know, so on and so forth. Once you're done with that, you can set it to be either an employee discount, which is only employees can get it, coupon. This is what I'm talking about with the auto discount. So if you set these parameters and all that stuff and then turn it on to auto discount, anytime somebody rings something in that meets that criteria, it's going to add that discount to it. Cool. And then you can actually set it so you can do it as a percentage, as a specific amount off in dollars. You can do it, hey, 5 beers for $25 or something like that, so on and so forth. Or hey, buy 4 pizzas, get a free 2-liter bottle of Coke or something like that, right? Here we have the availability. So you know, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. every day, you know, you get 25% off of pizzas. Any questions on this?
No.
Okay, cool. So sort menu config is where you're going to actually be able to rearrange the layout. So if I see right here, I've got first one's wine, right? Then there's beer and liquor, right? Right up here.
Yep.
If I wanted to switch that over, I would just switch that over, hit save. Now you'll see right here where this is like red. This means that it has been saved, but it has not been published to the POS itself. So once you're done editing, you would click that button to actually publish. That turns green. Then what I would do is I would come back to my POS system and then hit that top right button to sync with the back office, log back in, and boom. Now this has been rearranged. You can do this. You can do this with literally anything at all. Any menu item, if you don't like the way it looks, if you want it to flow, let's say you have like more popular beers than normal or something like that, you can just select, hey, Stella is selling like wildfire. So I'm going to move that to the very top. So that way, the first thing that somebody sees when they log in and click on beer is that Stella. Okay, perfect. So then you're saving your like servers and all and your bartenders, I know it doesn't seem like much, but 30 seconds every, time they ring in a beer, time is money. And that's crazy too. So any questions on this?
I don't
Nope,
think
cool.
so.
For reasons, this is where we would, add these certain reasons. So like, a reason for a void or a reason for a tax exemption or something like that. Hey, you guys were super cool. You get a tax exemption. Doesn't matter. You can add whatever you want. It's kind of up to you. So, like too hot, dislike, customer satisfaction, so on and so forth.
Scraps. Controls. This is like banana pepper and cheese. And steak and cheese. Ew, sorry.
Sorry, she got food. I had to examine it.
Are you good? Yeah. Got to make sure it's good to go. Okay, so now we're done with product and items. We're going to move on to user management. So user management, these are roles. So these are like, your managers, your servers, so on and so forth. This is where you would select what they're able to do. So managers usually have access to the back office. Sometimes they usually have access. This is where you would be like, hey, are they allowed to delete a payment? Are they allowed to, void stuff? Are they allowed to, so on and so forth. This is where you can turn stuff off and on, toggle it, Same thing with like, your server, just click edit. And you've got, back office stuff. Obviously, they have nothing to do with the back office. They honestly don't even really have stuff to do with the POS operations, other than to be able to, enter their own tips and all that jazz. And then this is where you would create your users. So your users are technically your employees, okay?
Yeah, I got the grandchildren tonight, but she said we were out of power, so I don't know how that's gonna turn out.
Yeah. Take them over to my house. Take them over to my house.
So Ashley's running late. She's got to take Tristan to Gillies or to work and then go pick her over other daughter. So by the time we all get there, we'll be just meeting.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah.
this is where you would create your like new employees, right? So I've got all my employees listed. You can show it like 100 for, I don't know if you have 100 employees, but you could see them all at one time. When you create a new user, it's the same exact concept as creating anything else. Anything with a red asterisk, you have to fill in. Word to the wise, whenever you're creating a new employee, always turn off enable user sign-in. That basically means, hey, they don't need to be able to sign into the back office. So your servers, your cooks, so on and so forth, they don't need to actually log into the back office or anything like that. So then you would just put their first and last name. You have to select, default English language. This POS initial screen, this is what I was talking about when I have a server clock in, it takes them right to that table layout, right? So this is that table screen, bar service, POS screen. So usually you're going to be switching between these two, mainly bar service. So as soon as somebody as a bartender clocks in, can jump them right to the bar screen and they can jump into certain tabs and all that stuff. Then you would just add a PIN. It's a minimum of 4 digits. So, usually last for the social or last for your phone number, so on and so forth. Then you would select a role. So, you know, hey, if they want to be a manager, but they also moonlight as a bartender, cool, sounds great. Then, you know, obviously you don't need to put their address in or anything like that. Their clock in required, obviously, yep, we want them to be able to do or to clock in or to have to clock in. And then cash tip, that's when, hey, they're going to have them claim their cash tip percentage. You have to have a minimum. Some restaurants, you know, hey, you have to claim a minimum of 10% of your sales or something like that. Doesn't matter. I usually set it to 0 and then it's up to them because we can't, you know, force their hand per se.
Does it make them claim their credit card chips though?
Credit card tips should be claimed automatically. So that's I mean, that's in the like tip adjustment and force punch in and out. But if they're, you know, let's say my like server, she had like $15 in tips, right? That's automatically reported in the back office for that individual employee on that day for your role-based payroll.
Perfect.
Cool. So forced punch in and out. This is for if you like have like, let's say you're running payroll or something like that, right? And you see, hey, you know, Sam clocked in and then it says that he did 23.5 hours of work. And it's like, obviously he forgot to clock out, right? So then you can go into this force punch in and out, search for the individual employee, select the date that the individual employee, you know, might have failed to clock in, hit apply. And then from there, you'll actually see the actual time clock event. So you'll say clocked in, clocked out. You can edit it. Let's say he completely forgot to like clock in or out and you need to create an event for him. You would just click this plus time event, select the employee for who it's for, select what role they were clocked in as, the date, the time, checkout date, and checkout time. Any questions on that?
No.
Cool. Tip adjustments, the same exact concept. So when you guys have like more than one bartender, right? Do you have them ring in under their individual names?
Yes.
Okay, so are they pooling tips though?
Not till the end of their shift.
Well, I know, but like at the end of the night, they all pool their tips together, the bartenders, and then split it evenly.
No.
Okay, so then they're basically just they get their own tips for their own checks and all that stuff, and then you know if they make more than the other person's, so be it, right? Okay,
Right.
cool. That makes life so much easier. Holy crap. Because normally we have like bar AM and bar PM. So if you have all of your servers or all of your bartenders clocking in under bar AM, obviously you're going to have to go back here and adjust those tips because bar AM technically doesn't exist. So how can it pay taxes? So then you would go back in here, select the date, select all the employees that were clocked in, and then scroll through, and then you would adjust bar AM's tips to 0, and then split the tips evenly, and then adjust the two bartenders. But if they're already doing that themselves, then easy peasy. It's more about just double checking. But you could actually go in and adjust and like double check and change it if you needed to.
Well, I think that he said they wouldn't be able to run the report. But that doesn't
Yeah.
help with the cook. I know. But
Yeah, they actually can't clock out, can't do anything as long as they have active checks or if they have a, you know, an open
Right.
check or something like that.
Sometimes
So
the employees leave without clocking out.
but
then-
that mainly falls on the kitchen. That doesn't have to run a report, so they're not red flagged.
Right, but Sarah doesn't clock out a lot of times, and she can't run a report if she's clocked out. She has to be clocked in, but that doesn't mean she can't just turn around and walk out after she runs her report because and not clock out. You have to be able.
well, I mean, if she's a cook, then like she wouldn't have a report to begin with.
No,
she
I'm
would have
saying
a clock in. Sorry.
Sarah, my bartender, forgets to clock out half the time. She'll have
she
her
would have
report.
to.
They run their report, and then they end up leaving and locking up and not punch out. Then the next day I come in and I fix it on the old system.
But it tells
Well,
you when
so-
you batch, right? When you run the batch at the end of the night, doesn't it tell you that there's people not clocked out?
Yeah. Here. So if you, yeah, let's go, if I run the batch real quick,
Okay, that's it.
like if I go close a day,
Like when
you'll
Sheila-
see right here, it says you have 8 employees clocked in. You have
Oh.
8 employees clocked in.
And you can do this the next morning, right?
Do it the next morning at any, yeah, normally you're gonna see this at the end of the night. Because this is the final stage before you actually close the day, right?
Yeah, okay.
So then at the end of the night, the last thing you're doing, you'll be like, oh, all right, so obviously I've got 8 employees clocked in. These are all the employees that are still clocked in.
Okay.
So then it'd be like, hey, I know for a fact that, Kelly didn't clock out or so on and so forth, right?
And you have to do this, right? This part?
Well, you can close the day with people still clocked in.
Okay, it's just letting you know that they're
Mhm.
still. Okay.
Yeah, because normally, whenever you're doing your close of day stuff, right? You're obviously going to have people that are still working, closing up, cleaning, so on and so forth. So it just kind of gives you an idea of, hey, I've got X amount of people that are clocked in still. So, hey, maybe I know that you said her name was Sarah or something like that. I know Sarah has a tendency not to clock out. So now's my time to be like, hey, clock out. Like, what's going on?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. I tell you, even if you run it the next morning, you can at least be like, oh, Trent.
Well,
forgot
then-
to-
That's
Exactly.
something-
And then let's say she actually does forget to clock out, right? Then what you would do is you would go into the back office, you would go to your user management, go to your force punch in and out, find Sarah, the employee, run that date, and then adjust it from there.
Yeah, at least-
Got it.
Cool.
Rachel. I have to
So-
get somebody.
That's pretty much all of user management. Do you have any other questions on that?
I know. I do not.
So now we're getting into the fun stuff.
Sorry, we're good. I would like to, yes, please, thank you. This is what I've been
Yes.
waiting for.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're
Um,
good. I like all the
so
other stuff. Come in and run the door.
Reports, it's like reports all the way down. This is
know.
insane. So when I go to reports and I go to sales report, I can get a breakdown of my department sales, right? So I've got food, liquor, yours is going to have beer, wine, so on and so forth, right? You can even get a breakdown of category, subcategory, individual menu items, individual modifiers that are being sold. I usually say like, okay, well, if I see that obviously, they're ordering a burger and they add onion to it multiple times, why not just add that onion to the burger to begin with, and then so on and so forth.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Also, right here, your sale recap and your cashier out. These are the same exact thing as this.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's a
Oh.
tale as old as time. Whenever you go to print out your cashier out report and then your printer runs out of paper, you can always go back to the back office, go to reports, go to sales, go to cashier out, and then you can select the individual employee and you'll see, let's see where she is.
Nice, okay.
Hit apply. And then that same exact thing should pop up right here, right? Same thing with sales recap. What specific reports are you looking for?
I am the accountant, so I'm looking for sales tax report. I'm
Yeah.
looking for when we need to do our sales audit by category, out food, stuff, like
So
sweatshirts.
then that would be like a department sale where you would have food, liquor, beer, wine, retail, all that stuff, right?
And I need to know taxable sales versus non-taxable.
Okay.
So
So
like,
if you go to like a sale recap report and then you would go to, let's say, a specific time period,
the month,
and then the report type, you want to do a detailed report,
okay?
and then you can do, date range, let's
Yep.
say from, the 1st to today,
Okay,
hit apply. And now you'll see total gross sales, net sales, non-taxable net sales.
okay. How does
You'll
that look?
see, huh?
How do I print that?
So what you would do is right up here, you have export. So I can hit export. You can export it as an Excel file, or as a
Perfect.
PDF. If
Okay.
you export it as a PDF,
Okay. So does that tell me where my taxable versus non-taxable is? Am I just not seeing it?
I think it's just not seeing it because technically, I mean, this is a test store. So it is going to be a
Okay.
little bit different, but you will see, you
Okay.
know, I mean, if I export it, like you will see this basically just printed out as a PDF.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
you'll be able
I
to
can-
see non-taxable net sales,
Okay.
you know, tips and all that stuff throughout the entire time, discounts, voids, everything, everything. Cool. Similarly, I mean, you can do reports on transactions.
I know.
So if you have a specific transaction you wanted to see, so let's say, hey, you get a call, hey, I need a copy of my receipt again. Can you send me
Ah,
one, right?
Yeah.
So I could go back to reports, I can go to transactions, then I can select, hey, you know, this specific one. You'll notice, you remember when I was telling you about the nodes, like node 1118? This is going to be, hey, 118002. So that's the
Okay.
node it was rung in on and the check associated with that. And then you'll get
Okay.
the order of the, you know, the server name, so on and so forth, and then the total amount. And then, yeah, you can send the receipt to an email address. Easy peasy.
What's in the employee report there?
Yep. So that's the next one we're going to dive into. So this is employee.
Okay.
This is going to be when we do our role-based payroll. Okay.
Okay.
So whenever you're creating new users, right? You create them with the role, and then you have the option to associate that role with X amount of dollars per hour or something like that, right? So if you're doing like hourly and all that stuff, so when you run this role-based payroll, you would select all the employees, the process. You probably want to do it like daily. The format, you're going to want to change it to in hours. And then the time period, then you would select that same date range. Start date, let's say the 15th through the 29th. Hit apply. Obviously, my employees are so hard at work that they're still working right now. So they're not going to have a report, but it will show you a report of the name, the date, the role, in, out, the regular hours, so on and so forth. You can actually change columns. So if you wanted to get rid of some redundant ones, or you wanted to add some, you know, hey, tip adjusted, tip out, so on and so forth, you can just toggle this on and off. See how it changes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then once you're done with that, you can actually do the same exact thing for any sales report, just export it as a PDF or as an Excel file.
So is that, where would I get their hours for their clock in? Like, so I can do payroll?
Yeah, so this is where you're going to do payroll. So this is your
Okay.
role-based payroll
This is where-
right here. So you'll have your name, you're going to have the date and the role, and then the regular hours right there.
Okay. And I
So
can see
then-
their out, right? Their clock in and their clock out.
Yep, clock in and
Okay.
out. Yep. So
Wait.
basically, whatever you're going through, you're going to be like, hey, obviously regular hours 23.5. That well, that's not correct. So there's obviously some discrepancy. So then it's like, okay, I'm going to mark down, you know, John on the 15th, you know, and then go and edit his hours back.
Where do I edit his hours again?
That was under the user management, force punch in and out.
Okay. I'm not gonna remember that, but I'm going to write it down.
You're not going to remember it now, but once you start doing it 80 times or something like that, then, you know, or you know, once you lay down the law and then they start clocking out, then you don't even have to worry about it, you know.
Yeah, well,
100%, but yeah.
Well,
when they don't
trust
clock
me,
out,
you
I put them at their actual out time that they're
Yeah.
supposed to be out instead of when they actually clocked out.
yeah, hey, I love it when when they would work for free for me.
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
If you can't clock out, you get out when it's supposed to be closed,
Yep.
even though you're still open.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. Yeah, not take you know, 10% off your tips or something like that. No, that's extreme. I wouldn't have employees at that point, but yeah.
Okay, so user management, force clock in and out, and then the other one was sale. So it's all under reports, all right,
It's all
Okay.
under reports. Yep.
yeah. Okay, so I can still do all the
And
insurance.
also you can look up, like, I mean, up at the top of here, you can actually do a search. You know, if I wanted to do, you know, like
Ooh,
tip adjustment, right? I can just search it. So
Oh.
I do, you know, payroll.
Did we get
Oh,
those?
okay. Role-based payroll. Boom. Jumps you right into it. So you can utilize this like search bar too, to go look at the beginning.
Here 20 years ago.
But then you can have, you see like all of these different report types. Like you can have, you know, audit logs or void reports, discount reports, gift card sales, refunds, batches. I mean, there's just so much freaking data here. It's insane. So
Karen.
were those the only specific ones you were talking about, or did you have any specific other
Nope,
reports you
that,
wanted?
yep. Nope,
Cool.
that's it. Yep,
Perfect.
yeah, no, that's perfect.
Cool. So I think that that's a good spot to maybe stop, right, and all that stuff. I mean, I have been talking at you for an hour and a half, so I want to give you at least a break or something like that. So what I think we should do now would be schedule the hardware installation. Okay.
Aye.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop recording. And then once I stop recording, I'm going to save this and